The Vilnius Summit clearly confirmed that Ukraine's membership in NATO is only a matter of time, and Moscow will not be able to prevent the decision of Ukrainians on Euro-Atlantic integration. Good afternoon, this is Ernie Keane on UATV Daily Wrap-Up, giving the hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. The Vilnius Summit accelerated Ukraine's path to the alliance. Ukraine will not have to spend time on the implementation of MIP procedures. It is a huge step forward and in a proper direction. The alliance offered more weapons, more ammunition and other support to Ukraine, but could not agree to allow the country to join their organization while the war with Russia is raging, and we in Ukraine understand that. The good news is a major hurdle most countries must clear to join completing a membership action plan removed. Ukraine understands that its accession is still conditional.
Ми адекватні люди.
We are adequate people. We understand that some are really afraid to talk about our membership now. No one wants a world war. This is understandable and logical. Ukraine understands that it cannot be a member of NATO while the war is going on. We met with many people today. Ukraine will become a member of the alliance when the right conditions really exist. I understand it as it will be when it will be safe on our land.
However, instead of an action plan, Ukraine will get multi-year programs for bringing its armed forces and security institutions up to modern standards, which is an achievement. Of course, also a new NATO-Ukraine Council will be launched, upgrading political ties and allowing all sides to call crisis talks if needed. Well, talks are good if actions are to follow. A hard truth in easy terms has been put best by Zelensky himself, who said it was absurd that Ukraine received no proposed time for membership. The best security guarantee for Ukraine will be NATO membership. However, at least the group of 7 industrialized democracies did offer other assurances to dissuade Russia from attacking again once the war is over. Should it do so, the powers would send swift and sustained security assistance, modern military equipment across land, sea and air domains, and economic assistance, they say. Also, they want to slap more sanctions on Russia. For now and into the future, they said they will provide weapons and military equipment to Ukraine, including combat air power, as well as more military training for Ukraine's army. Zelensky asked that these assurances last at least until Ukraine joins NATO. But what if things in Russian Tsar's outdated head just go completely south and Russia goes west or east Europe and attacks a NATO country? Well, in this case, the leaders of the alliance endorsed the biggest shake-up since the Cold War of the way NATO would respond to any attack on its territory by Russia. The revamp of the highly secretive defense plans inspired by Russia's invasions of Ukraine lay out which of the 31 member countries would call on to respond to an attack anywhere in Europe and the North Atlantic region. NATO commanders will know what troops and equipment they can use and how long it would take to get them into action. Well, what can I add to it? At least one thing has gotten clear to alliance finally. Peace in the Euro-Atlantic area has been shattered, the leaders said, laying out the twin threats posed by Russia and terrorism. And this is the reason why the collective West is interested in the victory of Kiev and is not tired, anyhow, of Ukraine and its fight against Russian aggression. Even so, it reminds to some politicians the values they are actually called to defend. Not only values, but the costs, of course, also matter a lot. However, it turns out that to spend money helping Ukraine is profitable, since it is not an expenditure, but an investment. This is why the Ukrainian Defense Forces continue receiving military aid and are getting all that is necessary from NATO side to liberate the occupied territories. Moreover, Kyiv is conducting a tight dialogue not only with NATO as a supranational structure, but also building a bilateral partnership with the member countries of the alliance. And Ukraine is ready to immediately engage in the implementation of all the necessary measures to fulfill the conditions of the alliance. So to the next summit in Washington, Ukraine will come with a concrete achievements. The success of the counteroffensive is measured not only by the area of the deoccupied territories, but also by the destruction of the enemy's military capabilities and facilities, like warehouses, places of concentration of military personnel, etc., etc. This is crucial and not always noticeable work. Ukrainian troops are advancing in the south and near Bakhmut and at the same time deterring an enemy offensive in the east. Despite all the efforts, the occupiers are unable to move forward. Let us all not to forget the cost Ukraine pays for its advance. The defense forces liberate our lands in conditions of obvious superiority of the enemy, both in armament and the number of personnel, but not even close in motivation. We fight for our lives, freedom, and the future of our very nation. The advancing Ukrainian troops suffer significantly fewer casualties than the enemy, which holds the defense in well-equipped positions. This is the result of professional and careful planning of operations and tactical and strategic cautiousness of General Zaluzhny in particular and his headquarters in general. And Russian propaganda whines a lot about NATO's disappointment in the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and we in Ukraine want to thank Russian propaganda for that. Because Russian propaganda is a perfect litmus, you see, of things dangerous for Kremlin, as it only talks about things dangerous for the Kremlin. The facts are the participants of the Vilnius Summit did not even give any comments on the result of the operation simply because it is not over yet. However, earlier, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg positively assessed the current success of the armed forces of Ukraine. The volume of Russian oil deliveries for the first time in the last month has significantly decreased compared to the February level. Here are some whys. Crude shipments through Russia's western ports dropped substantially below their average February level for the first time after volumes surged during the intervening months, according to the vessel tracking data monitored by Bloomberg and corroborated by other data sources. Nationwide, seaborne crude flows fell to 2.86 million barrels a day in the week to July 9th. That was a little more than 1 million barrels a day lower than the previous week, with 80% of the drop coming from ports in western Russia. Moscow has said previously that lower flows resulting from its output cut would be targeted at ports on the Baltic and Black Sea. However, there was no obvious sign of maintenance at the Russian ports like that which led to the big drop seen 2 weeks ago. With few buyers left in Europe, the impact of the lower flows is being felt in shipments to Asia, which dropped onto their lowest since mid-January. The smaller volumes undermined the Kremlin's income from export taxes, which fell by 29% last week compared with the one before. The reduction comes after Russia followed Saudi Arabia in announcing further curbs earlier this month. The Desert Kingdom said it would extend its unilateral output cut through August, while Moscow pledged to reduce exports by 500,000 barrels a day. Saudi Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman called Russia's move meaningful because it applies to oil export, which can be measured more effectively than production. Russia initially said in February that it would cut oil production by 500,000 barrels a day in retaliation attempt for Western sanctions and price caps on its oil. Then the Kremlin decided to stop disclosing production data. I wonder, why is that? Maybe the world is more tired of Russian aggression and terrorism than helping Ukraine after all. Just wondering. It was Henry Keane on UATV English, hoping to give you the hard truth in easy enough terms on our daily wrap up today. Comment, like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters a lot to us. Stay safe and tune for more tomorrow. See you very soon.